they when they keep adding to the languages, sometimes it makes it pretty crappy, you know.
Well, that's like anything that's bloatware or...
Yeah.
So with Lisp, I know you said one time that you wanted to make a Lisp.
I was considering doing a Lisp.
Yeah, so like I was really interested actually, like what a holy Lisp would look like. Right?
Yeah.
Because that would be interesting, right?
Yeah, that would be interesting.
Someone actually did implement a Lisp in Holy See, if I recall.
Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't mind if they distribute it. That's fine.
Yeah. I know you have some pretty strict opinions about third-party software, but
yeah, I don't know. Like, well,
are you starting to reconsider?
I don't really. I don't want libraries because then you get into dependency hell.
Yeah.
One of the nice things about the Commodore is whenever you bought something, everything was on there except what you got from the ROM. You know what I'm saying? It was just a real simple. You know, you take the package and then it works with the ROM. You know.
Totally.
And it just avoided the dependency hell. And I don't want like. Well, you know, you can do it if you want to. I know no one's going to stop you. But,
Oh, you're passing this way?
It's on this side of the street, right?
The house is over that way.
Oh, okay.
Oh. Yeah, we were so confused about that actually. How'd you end up staying there?
Well, they have a battery charger and I was desperate. And computers too, which are sometimes nicer than the phone, you know?
Yeah,
for sure.
Even if they're, Windows machines.
Yeah.
What do you think of, Windows versus Mac versus Linux? It's like, there's the big three nowadays.
Yeah, I used Linux. I liked Windows for a long time, but then I switched over to Linux.
Yeah, I know.
At about what time, you think?
Maybe 2014, pretty late, you know?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What distribution?
I was using Ubuntu.
Yeah.
Okay.
But,
So with, Linux, it's a monolithic kernel. TempleOS is also monolithic, right?
yeah.
Yeah, so, GNU, they were working on the Herd microkernel, and
It's almost like, if you don't have Ring 3, it's almost like not even, doesn't even make sense, you know? The kernel, that's talking about separating certain parts into user space and...
Yeah.
And so if you don't have Ring 3, it almost doesn't even make any sense.
Oh, yeah, no, I get what you mean.
I don't know.
No, yeah, I get that. So you wouldn't really even call it monolithic because that kind of term doesn't really apply to TempleOS. Yeah. And like people are really starting to develop more user space programs for TempleOS.
Yeah. Cool.
It's kind of,
I used to have an app store for a while,
Yeah.
but now I'm not really up and running. Maybe CXP or whatever his name is. Need to contact him.
Templar.
Yeah.
Are you going to name disciples?
I guess so.
Yeah, eventually.
Yeah, I'm kind of like not really in a situation to...
Oh, yeah. No, I get it. Totally.
So, we want to go over here for the...
Wait. Okay. So, I've often thought about running my own kernel.
There you go.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Go for it.
That's why he feels so inspired by you, because he feels like a single-man operation a lot of the times, and you really appealed to his motivation for designing this kind of operating system / social network /
Yeah, I'm really into that.
security.
Hopefully it's not just another Linux or something like.
No, I want to start from scratch.
Yeah, something original,
Yeah. Like Microsoft Windows is so bad. They don't even charge for it. They can't get people to pay for it. You know? Not that free implies it's bad or anything, but
well, unless you start turning into the product, right?
Well, they thought that
I can tell you right away, the graphics drivers are going to be a problem unless you like maybe you could support one or something. But basically,
sorry.
You know, I'm just telling you, you wonder why there aren't more operating systems. Well, that's pretty much the reason right there. Graphics drivers.
Well, even graphics drivers are a problem on Linux because the OEM doesn't want to support them.
Exactly, but
why would they write support for 3 different operating systems of less than, let's say, 10% market share?
Unless you're prepared to do something crazy like 640 by 480, you're not going to have much luck. Unless you got like one graphics, I could imagine you doing one, maybe 2, but like it's going to be kind of limited. That's the whole reason there aren't other operating systems. Well, there are some Haiku and
Haiku is doing really well.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't really like.
I never tried
it. You know BOS.
Yeah.
That's basically what Haiku is extended.
Yeah.
That kind of.
Is this the center right here?
Hold on. Yeah, up there. Yeah.
So the weather's great here, huh?
Yeah.
This is what we deal with.
Yeah.
This is a California winter.
You're used to it, though. At night, yeah.
Oh yeah, I bet. Well, even out here in some places in San Diego, it's high desert. So
before I forget, that they wanted to have you on the Discord. Do you remember being on that?
Yeah, I'm not really into it.
Yeah, IRC is easier, right? Yeah. Okay. That pretty much answers that question. So, I figure it's not going to happen.
what you could also consider is having an IRC bot that relays Discord messages to IRC and back.
Yeah, you could do that, but I mean, that's kind of...
I've seen it done before in a lot of game channels, because Discord's made kind of for gamers, but it's kind of expanded past that.
So anyway, back to operating systems, which is your main expertise. I don't know, like, I guess I can just, let you talk about what you like, basically, because...
So you have to get for what you want to make on your operating system, like what kind of interface,
Well, I would start with my own...
Yeah, he also did like a file system, a database file system, didn't they? A database,
Oh yeah, no, I actually want to get rid of files.
Oh, okay. You know what's interesting is the non-volatile memory, that's going to create a new operating system potentially. You could have, well, I think out of wisdom you would still do it in the normal way, but like with non-volatile memory, let me think about this for a second. You could have like your whole heap just right on the disk, like.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. So there's even there's a new type of a solid-state drive called the M2 SSD, and it's a new type of socket, and actually it's about 30 times faster than a regular hard drive.
Yeah, well, there's a new technology, non-volatile memory, which is I haven't checked into this in years, but yeah, I think maybe that's what it is. It's 30 times faster. But I've had a solid-state drive. That's not the same as the non-volatile memory stuff.
Oh yeah, no, I understand that. I'm just saying that would really.
Well, it's gonna burn things down, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
What is your camera?
Where's my camera?
Why are you on camera?
Why am I on camera? Well.
Are you guys shooting?
Okay, what do you want, sir? It says cash only. So.
Yeah, I got my cash going again. I got the PayPal with me.
Awesome.
Oh, but they only said it says cash only. So
Oh, okay, well.
it's hard.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I'll be-
If you could, Kenny, soda, please.
Huh?
Soda.
Yeah.
What about chicken sandwich? You want to just get sodas or something?
Well, actually, you want that?
Oh, yeah.
If you'd like some of that, yeah.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, okay, chicken sandwich.
Okay, so you want you want any food?
No, I get that thing.
Okay, never mind. What do you guys want? I'm not that hungry right now either.
No. I'm gonna get some food.
Uh,
I'm gonna get a chicken sandwich.
Okay. there you go.
chicken strips. I'll get chicken strips.
Wait, no, because I like to get some
That's something that I can eat.
fries.
No, that's okay. Just chicken sandwich.
Okay.
Come on.
You don't mind? Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. You're used.
Yeah.
You love
I'm
it.
not very self-conscious or whatever.
So yeah, I mean,
You guys live in Orange County, huh?
Yeah, we're living over in Orange County with our parents. It's kind of difficult to live in California, as you can be aware. Like, you know, even with programming, it's kind of an undersaturated market, but it can still be pretty difficult to find stable work. Not just like your run-of-the-mill contract work. You pick something up, some rich guy wants something done, and then you know you work maybe for 3 months. Maybe you're promised a little bit of equity, and you know a lot of times he's taking far less than he's worth because he believes in his projects. And I kind of feel like sometimes he gets a little screwed over when that occurs.
Okay, so we have our food.
All right.
And the cups.
Yeah.
Do you remember the last time?
I did have it. I moved away, and then I had it one other time after I moved away. But anyway. Oh, I know I had it in Goodyear.
It's kind of shooken a little bit. Did a little bit of walking.
I kind of make sure.
Well, actually, it was dollar tax, so really like
Yeah, it's kind of crazy when he told me, oh, Terry's in San Diego right now. I'm like, Terry's in San Diego right now? What is he doing in San Diego? And then I just had started talking to one of my friends again that lives out here, and she said, oh yeah, guys, come over here, stay the night, whatever. And they're like, well, we have someone here we need to help save, and when we decided to make the decision to go, the community, they really jumped out and tried to support you.
Yeah,
some really good people on the internet.
Well, yeah, I'm kind of hopeful that someday, like Elon Musk or somebody's going to take notice of God talking. I'm hopeful, but anyway.
Well, yeah, it's kind of.
Well, I've been sort of communicating on Twitter, sort of, on back channels, sort of. But anyway, I don't know. But that's not unusual. Nothing ever happens. Nothing ever turns up. I don't know why. It's kind of like back channel stuff. But so yeah.
It's warm, but.
Yeah. You want to go ahead and meet? Or? Okay.
Meeting today? Good.
Why aren't you at Walmart? You should be at Walmart. I mean, it kind of is.
That's actually where I got.
So I had a number of questions. You were there. Forgot my laptop.
Kelsey's mom bought it for me.
You really?
Right.
Yeah.
I wonder.
Right.
I really don't know. know if she caught that one.
But I think I remember most of them.
Okay.
Okay, I wanted to ask you about Lisp. You sort of went into that. Maybe I don't know if you wanted to say anything more.
Well, what do you think about functional programming in general?
I took a languages course in school, a semester or something, and we covered several languages, and I had, a couple weeks on Lisp. That was the only, and then I went back and I looked at it several years ago, and I decided it looked like it would be a lot of work to get anything done with it. I don't think doing a compiler would be that hard. I don't remember, but
well, the thing that they're saying about this is that most programming languages that implement new features implement a part of Common Lisp that's already implemented. You know, besides static typing, which is another question that I wanted to ask you about is static typing versus dynamic typing, and duck typing, if you know what that is. Where if it walks like a duck, talks like a duck, it's a duck. You know, like if an object does this, and that, it's that object. You know, sort of like that's dynamic typing.
Yeah, that's not a part of Holy C, but
so
I don't have a problem with it.
Holy C is weekly.
I just have the worst anxiety.
So
this year.
yeah, let's get. I guess.
Because I felt
Could
it start to
you
fly out of my hands
explain
a
the
couple
decision
times, and I was
behind
like,
that? Because I obviously
really don't know if I can.
you know, there's a
go
reason
after
for that, and
Did you hear what I said to her? I was like, well,
I like assembly. Assembly has very little control, and so when I made the Holy C, I wanted it more like assembly, where you can do whatever you want, and it's not stopping you. And that's more or less the reason. The interesting, when I did the type casting, C, of course, is prefix typecasting. You put it before then they invented those other typecasting, the other for the expanded language. The original C just had, you put it in parentheses, the data type, before it, right?
yeah.
In Holy C, I was doing the compiler, and it was in the original, I didn't care at all about compatibility. I was like, I'll just do whatever. And then later on, I was like, oh, maybe I should make it compatible. And like when I first did the typecasting, I did it postfix because it was easier to do in the compiler. There's a lot more. Putting a prefix would have made it a lot more ugly. So, and then I was like, oh man, I should really go back and make that standard. And then I went back in there, and oh, it's just too ugly. I was like, no, I'm not doing that.
So with strict typing, there's a new trend, but it has roots in academia, where it comes.
Once they took C and they added 3 different types, I was like, that's just junky. And they're really cumbersome. They're not like standard. You got the letters in there, and that's just awful. It's not elegant. It's like, why'd you do that? I don't like it.
Yeah, so there's typed versions of a Lambda calculus. And
yeah, a lot of those things you might use once in a blue moon, but mostly,
yeah.
And you get a little bit. Everybody loves paying attention to those, but you don't use them very often,
Yeah, what do you think about ML? ML, right? Just a little bit.
I've heard of machine language, but I don't think that's
ML is or Haskell, perhaps. I'm trying to think of a more common language.
I think it's the time to do it.
I haven't had any reason to use anything else. I just avoid it. Assembly, C, Pascal. These are the ones I've programmed professionally in, and I've learned some of the. At one point, when I was about 1996, the internet was getting big. I'm like, you know what? There's another generation coming along. I'm just going to let them do all the internet stuff. I'm going to stick to because my background was like the low-level assembly stuff, right? So I'm like, I'm going to specialize. Doctors go into specialties.
Right.
So I made a conscious effort. I'm just gonna avoid all the internet stuff. I was like, I'll just let the next generation deal with that. Got enough you know, everything you know about the internet is probably something I know about something pre-internet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like,
Yeah, we definitely grew up in a generation that was rapidly advancing.
so like every time you think you know something I don't know, there's probably something I know that you don't know. You know, that's kind of. So that's.
But it's really interesting because you don't really get this perspective very often. You know, it's not like you can go to many meets where people like you, really intelligent people, go and discuss. I mean, nowadays you have these kind of recruiter traps where, you know, you go to these places, you know, it's all casual.
Really just very, very capitalized markets.
And they normally have a talk or some sort of, you know, talk about some new subject. And basically it's just a kind of trapping ground for these recruiters. They start talking to you and, you know, they're just trying to bring you into their office, get you to sign their contracts, you know, get employed and work for a company. You know?
I mean, it's not so bad. It's just, right now, they're really distinguishing, rather than saying that you're a very distinguished programmer, it'll be you are a Python programmer, you are a JavaScript programmer, you are a C programmer. That's the
You just get pigeonholed that way.
Exactly.
Oh yeah.
So it's a lot different.
Somehow like imagine.
But getting back to static typing,
like creativity, kind of like writing.
a lot of people. So you know Ada, right? Well, you know what it is.
Yeah.
You know, people are saying, you know, because they write airplane control applications in those kinds of languages because they don't want the airplane to crash due to some runtime error.
So my mentor was Peter Gadwet, Ticketmaster, and he influenced a lot of my thinking, and he had bad things to say about Ada. He said a committee got together and everybody threw in all their ideas, and he ended up with a bloated language with so many ideas in there, and he didn't like it. So I never even looked at it, but I had a bad opinion from him talking about it, you know. But he said that's what happens. You get the government committee. Everybody puts. You don't have strong leadership in the government committee, and everybody gets to put in their ideas and stuff. But I don't know.
Yeah. A lot of people want those kinds of static constraints. At least one part of Ada that was sane for like very secure systems, and they want to implement it in more like concise, easy to understand languages.
You know, I'm not saying that Temple OS is for let's say professional. You know, it's purposely it's. Yeah, I could almost just call it a toy on purpose, you know. That's what it's for, you know. It's a lot. I don't find I find those annoying. It takes the fun out of it, you know. When you make it too bureaucratic, you know, it takes the fun out of it.
Yeah, like
on the Commodore, it was simple to get stuff done, and you didn't lose motivation. Like if it takes let's say putting a graphic on the screen, right? A lot like I was looking at X Windows, and it was like a really discouraging number of lines of code just to get something on the screen, right? And it's like, well, I don't know, 50 lines of code just to get something on the screen, and then you start copying and pasting chunks of code, you know, and you don't know what they do, and at that point, yeah. So I didn't. I purposely made it simple so that you don't lose motivation trying to get stuff done with the bureaucratic stuff. You know, just having to. I know what really made me angry was I was using a C compiler for many years, and then they started putting this const in there, right? They're like, oh no, you have to tell it what's constant, right? I was like, oh, I don't want to mess with this. You know, after years of, it's like, oh come on, no, that just doesn't interest me, right? I'm saying, you know, like years and years, and it's just an annoyance. You know?
Well, yeah, I know. So one point about that though is with const, it does optimize.
Yeah, I know.
So
yeah.
But
I was not interested. I was like, no, I don't want to be bugged. I don't. it just drove me nuts. You know, years and years is a nice thing, and then it's just a major hassle every time. They're just harping on me like all the time. Oh, I don't want to budget with this. You're using some library thing. You got now you got to worry about the cost, you know. And so it just took the fun out of it, right? Saps some motivation, right? Or like before that, you never worried about it, right? And now you just got this extra bureaucracy added to it, and it's just it takes away the motivation, you know.
So one of my friends, he may have, he mentioned with libraries, it seems more difficult to upgrade a library in a dynamically typed language than in a static typed language, because if you upgrade a library, let's say from version 1 to version 2, with the dynamic language, a lot of errors would happen at runtime, and so you have to keep running the program over and over again to get these errors, and that's assuming you would exhaust all test cases. Whereas with the static type language, strictly test not a weekly test, you would get those errors as soon as you compile the program. What do you think the future would be as a sort of middle ground between this easy to use, like weekly type, fun Commodore 64?
Let me tell you something. Over the years, programs have gotten bigger, and they've developed strategies for bigger programs. And what they start doing is putting in all these extra things when you have monster projects. And when the project is smaller, you don't need this stuff. I'm just telling you, you don't have to waste all the bureaucracy on all this stuff. Because if you have a small enough program, it wasn't a problem. And so all these now they try to tie as much down as possible and take away all the error potential, take away all that stuff. And what they've done is they've just added a whole bunch of bureaucracy, and they're taking the fun out of it. And that's because it's gotten so big that that's how they do their development for these big projects. They try, we got so many people. The only way we can do anything is to like lock down as much as possible. And on a smaller if you're doing it yourself, for in the early years, you know, there were a lot of single-person projects. You know, it happens, you know, and now it's a whole different situation. You don't have to. I don't know how to put it, but like you don't have to communicate all the if it's just you, then you don't have to lock everything down quite so much, you know, because you know what's going on. I know that sounds like bad. This is truth. I'm just saying, when it was a smaller scale and you had like a single programmer, you didn't need all that bureaucracy. You're getting it all done, you know.
But nowadays too, you have a lot of people who are like those solo
here's
people making apps.
Here's what I do. Here's my classic. I'm gonna if somebody's coming in for a job interview, I'm gonna say, okay, can you tell me all the ways that you adapt your programming style and your algorithms so that when you start scaling up. And now I'm going to expect them to start rambling off, you know, what their ways for scaling up. And now I ask them, now, what's the right thing to do when you scale down? And they're going to say, well, no, you just use the same ones. No, that's not how it works. On an airplane, if you got a wing, you do the right one for the design. You don't put like a monster wing on there. You put the one that's So if whatever you do to scale up, if it's a 1,000,000 line project, in theory you should do a little bit different. You should be a little bit, you know, it does. I like to say it doesn't just get bad; it gets worse. You know, when you go up, and it doesn't just get better. It doesn't just get good; it gets better. I don't know. I don't want to say it clever or something. But anyway,
a lot of times too, they, you know, obviously they're more focused on adding features.
You know, here's a classic. Here's a classic. Everybody hates global variables, right? But like on a Commodore, where it's just like a beginner, it's like. There's nothing wrong with that. Like it's like, oh, well, they're going to be brain damaged because they used a global. You know, it's just like a.
Yeah. So what's kind of ironic is now, all these languages are getting what are called packages, and basically packages are just exporting global scope variables, but they're packages. Like instead of having a header file and an implementation file, it'll be one file. But you control what you export to the external.
Okay, well, it wasn't that complicated in the Commodore, you know. It was.
Oh yeah, there was no header. Yeah, obviously. Yeah. But you know, just looking at like kind of you were saying, like at a bigger scale, right, with their industrial programs. Do you think the header source distinction is relevant at all in modern programming?
In Temple OS, I got rid of the headers.
I guess some companies.
There's a few places in the kernel. There's a few headers, but most of it just includes the whole thing. Doesn't have headers. And one thing that drives me nuts is some people insist on doing it backward from. They want to do forward declarations before the function. You know, like why are you doing that? I don't understand why you insist on doing that. Like some people say, well, the right way to do it is top down. You know.
Oh.
It's just like the classic is milk is for baby cows. It's like what? So, like a professor says, well, obviously you want to do it top down. You know, put your main routine and then your other routines. I'm going. It doesn't matter to me. You know, like I'm just going to do it the way the compiler wants to do it, which is the little ones first, or the low level, and then up. You know. Because then you don't have the
Bottom up.
Bottom up, yeah.
So Lisp is a lot like that. I accidentally designed a program top down recently, and debugging it was hell. I spent 10 hours straight because I was streaming as well. And I was debugging this thing.
You have to realize some people have opinions like that. Like Big Endian was back when I was Motorola had Big Endian and Intel had Little Endian. You know what I'm talking about, right? And I had a professor, and he was just like, he was a Motorola guy. I was at ASU, and he's like, "Oh, Big Endian's the way to go," and I'm going, "Dude, it ain't the way to go."
You like Little Endian better?
Oh, there is. It's kind of like no question if you. How do I put this? If you've ever programmed in assembly, or how do I put this? You really don't want Big Endian because then you can't put like the. Let's say you want to add to let's say a 16-bit to a 32-bit. It's just not a computer. Look, here's the way I put it. A computer wants to operate a certain way. Try and go with the flow instead of like fighting it. You know what I mean? So like a lot of these things, it really doesn't matter one way or the other. But my theory is do it the way the computer wants to do it. You know what I mean? If the computer wants to do it bottom up, do it bottom up. Don't do it top down. Why are you being so weird? You know, it doesn't really matter that much. And like as far as I'm concerned, there's really no debate to the Little Endian, Big Endian. It's definitely Little Endian. The only place where Big Endian is good is I think you want that on networks. You know what I mean? Then you send the most significant so they can start switching.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's brilliant.
Yeah. So.
Just on a scooter.
Anyway, so yeah, I like to make fun of milk is for baby cows. Yeah, I'll go outside.
We bought you a cigarette.
Okay, you can go outside. Yeah.
Yeah. So kind of in that black bag.
We can start screaming see if it works at the New Revolution.
Does that set the camera?
Take just one or?
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Excellent.
Yeah.
Cool.
Go ahead. You can stop.
Okay.
Wait, no.
Yeah, these are.